Okay, so this is the recording for the lymph and layers of the blood vessels, which are also the same as the layers of the lymph vessels. All right, so you have a place on your handout with a list of lymphatic structures, and you have a place to put their functions. Your functions will come from the notes in your lecture material. You just have to go back through your notes. You don't have to go try and digging it through the textbook. All right, so here we have an enlargement of a mid-sagittal view of the skull. And so you have three kinds of tonsils. This is one of the pharyngeal tonsils. This is one of the palatine tonsils. And those are the ones that we typically think of when we think of the tonsils. And then this represents the lingual tonsils, which make up the base of the tongue. So if you look at the tongue, all of this would be the lingual tonsils. There are no taste buds, gustatory receptors on the lingual tonsils. The palatine tonsils can be removed if they become a mechanical obstruction. Goober number 1, geez Louise, you could look in the back of his throat and the two were touching each other. So if you covered up his nose, he had a hard time breathing. The pharyngeal tonsils, oops, there we go, can also be removed. They're sometimes referred to as the adenoids. They can also become a mechanical obstruction, or either of them can become reservoirs for bacteria. So if a mechanical obstruction, they get bigger, and so they block airflow, or they block food and liquid if it's the palatine tonsils. All right, in anatomical drawings, green is the color they use for lymphatic structures. And so all of these little circular objects are called lymph nodes. They typically run or occur in a chain so that the lymph flows through more than one of them. In addition to the lymph nodes, you have the thymus, which is this structure here in an adult. It sits above the heart. And then the biggest lymph organ is the spleen, located in the abdominal cavity. So with the models, again, you have the pharyngeal tonsils, the palatine tonsils, and the lingual tonsils. Here, oops, is the spleen. You can see the liver, gallbladder, pancreas, and part of the duodenum. Again, the spleen next to the pancreas, duodenum, You can see a kidney behind it and an adrenal gland. So we don't have models at this time for the thymus or the lymph nodes, but we do have models for the rest. Section 2 of your lab has the description of the blood vessel layers. Again, these are the same tissues that we find in the lymph vessels, the lymph trunks, the cisterna chyli, and the collecting ducts. So yes, they're appropriate here. You have 3 different layers. So you have to tell the difference between an artery and a vein, and you have to distinguish the 3 layers. Now, they're not the same size, but you can see the difference between the 2. So this picture is in the beginning of chapter 20 in your textbook, if you want to have a reference. Oops. So this is the artery. All of this. Now it doesn't show all of it, but you can see most of it. And then again, not the same size, but this is the vein. That is a nerve. It's soft. So you have 3 layers of tissue around a lumen, and the lumen is where the blood's going to be found. The wall of the artery is thicker. The wall of the vein is thinner. The wall of the artery is going to maintain its shape. The wall of the vein is only going to maintain its shape if there's blood present. So 3 layers, they all have the word tunica. Tunica interna, tunica media, tunica externa, which is also called tunica adventitia. The tunica interna used to be called the tunica intima, but externa and interna are more appropriate. So here you have microscope slides showing the artery and a vein next to it. This would be the boundary between the 2. In the wall of the artery, you have a tunica interna, this dark squiggly line. You have the tunica media, which is all of this. And then you have the tunica externa. Again, you have tunica interna, tunica media, tunica externa in an artery. The blood is here in the lumen, tunica interna, tunica media, tunica externa in an artery. In a vein, okay, you can see, tunica externa, tunica media, tunica interna, right next to this artery over here. Tunica interna, tunica media, tunica externa. And yes, sometimes you may have to blow this, oops, wrong way. Blow this up so that you can see those layers distinctly. So don't be afraid to change the size of your picture or your screen. So that's the first part of the lab for lymphatic organs, and then the layers of lymph and blood vessels.